start loading up. Game number 2 in this best of 5 series for the Australian Open between Mike and Mooshoo. Without further ado, let's click the pretty green launch button in the Voobly game room and let's wait for the game to launch. Let's switch the scene over and let's say welcome back everyone to game number 2 between Mike and Mooshoo for the Division B bracket Group 4 Round 1. The previous game having been taken quite easily, or not quite easily, but quite conclusively and quite well by Mike on the Mayan mirror matchup on the map, what I believe was Coastal. Now that means that Mooshoo has chosen this map, which is Nomad. This is Nomad as his home map. Now there's not too much point really in mentioning the civilizations, mentioning the players in any too greater depth until they've put their town centers down, and in fact they've actually done that now, so why not? So let's have a look. We got Mike down here, and he's placing his town center down towards the sort of southwestern edge of the map, and I don't really like his town center placement at all, owing to the fact that there is absolutely no food around him at all. He's playing as the Chinese though, so he could be in a good position to be able to do a lot of decent scouting with his villages and try and find some food, but still he's been completely shafted. He has not found any sheep. He has not found, I don't believe he's found those boar. Nope, he has not found those boar. He's found where there is water, but he has not thrown up a dock yet. And even when he does throw up a dock, he has to wait a little bit of time before he has enough wood to throw up or to throw out a fishing ship. So for the time being, Mike is going to be in a little bit of a difficult position. And obviously as the Chinese, you start out with extra villages, but you also start out with 0 food. Loom is going to be a must as soon as he gets his town centre up, but still it's going to be quite difficult for him, and he's off to a terrible start. But he is building his first dock, and his dock position, what does it look like? Well, he's got one deep sea fish there, he's got another deep sea fish out here, so it's not the worst dock he could have ever done, but of course the best dock he could have done in this position would have been out here toward the eastern corner of the map, and he could almost have guessed that as well. He could have been thinking, right, I know the Nomad map, I know there's usually water on Nomad, I know that this is awfully close to the edge of the map, which means that this sort of black area here is probably where there's more area or more land area as well, which means going over in this region of the map there is more likely to be a lot more water and therefore better fishing. But we won't dwell on that for too long. We'll have to wait and see how Mike does manage to play this game out. His opponent, the man who chose this game, the man who chose this map rather, is Mooshoo, and he's playing as the Koreans. Now obviously the hidden civilization pick for both of these players here means that it doesn't necessarily have to be a team random or a mirror matchup. No, and we can see that here. Aren't they meant to be sheep, Mike? Yes, well, Mike, there are meant to be sheep, and there are a crap ton of sheep. Well, not a crap ton, but there are a lot of sheep buzzing around on the map. I think Mike may be getting a little bit confused because he normally plays team games with the Australian New Zealand players, meaning that obviously there are more resources that you can take. Maybe the resources in a 1v1 matchup are a little more scarce. Mike potentially going to run straight headlong into the town centre of Mooshoo, and this is not what he wants at all. If Mooshoo does decide to garrison inside that town centre, which he does, and he's going to lose a villager as Mike early on in the game, and he's already 2 villagers behind now. Really bad for him, but he has managed to find a couple of sheep, which is going to be fantastic news for him, as he still does not have any food underneath his town centre at all, and inadvertently running into the town centre again, and very nearly losing a second villager to Mooshoo's town centre. But anyway, Mooshoo up here toward it's actually pretty kind of it's the northern area of the map, but it's also pretty much in the centre, and his town centre placement is a lot better than his opponent's. He has managed to find some sheep. Obviously that could have been due to the fact that the Korean player or the Korean villagers have extra line of sight on his, oh my freaking god, extra line of sight on their villagers. And now the laming fest begins. Goodness gracious me. Walling in the berries of Mike is what Mooshoo is going for here, and he seems to have not done it quite correctly, because Mike can still access these lovely red berries, and walling in the berries has not quite worked out as well as Mooshoo would have hoped. But choosing the Koreans, it could be an interesting strategy as to why. This would be great if he gets the quick wall, and if he walls a villager in, but he's not going to wall the villager in time. Unfortunately, that would have been fantastic to see. But Korean pick here from the red player Mooshoo. We saw in the previous game that he is quite partial to trushing. He does quite like to trush, so potentially that could be what his build order is going to be geared to, or geared towards here, and maybe even exemplified by the fact that he has put his town centre up on a stone pile as well. So we will have to wait and see how that one plays out. But for the time being, Mike is still sitting pretty on 5 villages, a hugely idle town centre, although he is going to get a villager pick here, uphill shot or not. This man is going to beat this woman to death eventually, and Mike is not going to stop hunting her down until she is 6 feet under the ground. Now, has Mooshoo decided to throw up a dock? Well, no, he has not. Mike has thrown up a dock. Unfortunately, he's taking these wee tiddlers, these wee small shore fish, which is not what he wants to be doing with his with his with his fishing ships. Is Mooshoo actually going to save this villager? He is going to save this villager, and he's going to pick off Mike's villager as well, bringing Mike's villager count back down to 5. Really, really painful for him. Mike is off to an absolutely terrible start with arguably one of the strongest nomad civilizations, and unfortunately, oh no! Unfortunately for Mooshoo, losing a villager and also clicking off the boar onto the stone. I think he still managed to drop off all of those all the villagers' food as he had clicked on the town centre, but still that's a really pain in the neck for him. A barracks being thrown up. Is he going to drush? Are we going to see a drush on nomad from the Korean player? That would be really, really fun to see. We've seen that Mooshoo is able to drush. He drushed pretty effectively and pretty efficiently, cost efficiently in the previous game. Is that 2 villages that's gone down to the boar? 2 deaths for Mooshoo? No, just 1 death for Mooshoo. Okay, I'm not sure what that guy there was. Maybe that was another villager from Mike. I'm not really sure. Or it could have just been something else. I don't know. But okay, let's have a quick look at the maps. We'll see what sort of resources these guys have around them. We've already mentioned that one of the stone piles here for Mooshoo is sitting right underneath his town centre. And while we're on that topic, let's have a look for all the other 5 stone piles as well. We can see 2 more up toward the northern area of the map, which is quite good for Mooshoo if he wants to continue his trushing ways. We can see the 4th and 5th stone piles down here, and unless I'm blind, I can't actually see the 6th. Well, that's because it's down here toward the southern edge of the map. So in terms of stone, Mooshoo definitely has the advantage. He has the closest stone piles for him, which is going to play quite nicely into his hands if he does want to go for some trushing and potentially get those war wagons that everyone loves to see as the game progresses. But moving out and starting to take some gold now is our red Korean player Mooshoo, so it looks like a drush is definitely going to be on the cards for him. Now, what about golds? How are the gold situation looking? Well, we can see that there's a gold pile out here towards that is pretty much equidistant between the 2 players. It's sitting on a hill, again, a very, very important hill, a very important area of the map is going to be this area here, for similar reasons as what we mentioned in the previous game, where you do want to start launching, or when you want to start launching attacks. Launching attack onto your opponent off this hill is going to be super, super strong, especially with trebuchets firing upon his town centre, for example, of Mike from Mooshoo. That's going to be a really, really effective strategy for him. Mooshoo does have another gold towards the back of his base, as well as another gold out towards the eastern flank, and the other golds is one further down here toward the south, and there's another one here as well. So all the golds, all the minerals, or most of the minerals do seem to be congregated in sort of this little slice of the map here. So this right-hand side, this right-hand area, this portion of the map is going to be very, very important to lock down. The left-hand side, I suppose there's a gold out here, but the western area of the map is quite barren in terms of resources, in terms of gold and in terms of stone. But we can see militia being queued up now for Mooshoo, and obviously this was his home map. Maybe he knows better how to play it, but drush on nomad, not exactly what you'd expect to see, but he is quite conclusively in the lead, 20 villages to 12. Mike does have out 3 fishing ships, and Mooshoo only just chucking up his first dock now, but the dock placement for Mooshoo is so much stronger, so much stronger than his opponents. And his scouting, what is his scouting like? Well, he knows there's water out here. He knows that Mike actually has a dock out here as well, but he knows, or he can suspect, that there's going to be so much more water out here, and therefore a larger proportion of deep fish. Or maybe he was just too lazy to walk up here and he wanted to try and keep his dock safe from any sort of grushing, so he has decided to chuck his dock up out here. But anyway, let's keep an eye on these militia. Let's see what these militia are going to be doing as they start walking around. He can see that, right, this is exactly where Mike is starting to take wood. maybe he's expecting that Mike is going to be still taking these berries down here as well. And lucky for him, fortunate enough for Mooshoo, Mike has actually moved out to start taking these berries. If he hadn't, then this drush would be completely and utterly worthless, as the majority of Mike's economy is congregated nice and safely around his town center. So the militia are starting to move around the back here, and I think he's going to go head straight for he's going to go straight for these berries, and this is going to hurt Mike a lot more than Mike would want to admit. But really, really nice quick walls for this one villager coming up for Mike, but another villager, or these other three villagers, especially this low HP one. If Mooshoo can get in here and get some attacks, this villager is a goner. This villager is absolutely dead. There is no question about it. I think I can conclusively call one more hit, and there we go. The villager has been killed. 3 villagers now down for Mike, and that's really starting to hurt him. 8 villages behind is Mike, although to be fair, he is 4 fishing ships ahead at this point in time, so it is sort of offset by that a little bit, but still economical advantage very, very heavily in favour of Mooshoo as he starts to throw down quite a few farms, seeding quite a few farms, looking to get up to the feudal age as quickly as he can, I don't doubt. What about Mike? How far away is he? Well, to be fair, he's had a crappy start, but he is nearly getting up to the feudal age as well. Boosted, obviously, his economy is by the inclusion rather of those fishing ships. And now Mooshoo's starting to move his drush into the town centre, into the woodline of Mike, and managing to get out of town. He's managing to scrape away without losing any militia. But I don't really understand the thought processes there of Mooshoo. He knew exactly where Mike's TC was. Surely he knew that there was no way he was going to be able to start getting into that wood line. And again, this drush not really going to be too worth it. We can see a gold mining villager rather being moved out now for Mike, looking like he may be wanting to be doing some sort of a fast castle build. No, he's just going to go ahead and start walling off a little bit, and this would be really nice for Mooshoo if he recognized the situation and read the game and started to move out to this gold, thinking, hey, maybe Mike is going to start heading out there to start taking some gold. And indeed, we can see Mike is actually starting to move out even further, and he's getting these wall offs, but it's not really going to do anything. Mooshoo's militia, Mooshoo's men-at-arms, Mooshoo's units, any units that Mooshoo's going to field are not going to be stopped from getting into Mike's base just by these palisade walls. And it looks like Mooshoo might be getting very fortunate. He's getting some nice downhill shots on this villager here as Mike throws up a barracks in defense or in haste outside of his own, or just outside of his own economy, and I don't understand why this villager here was not chased down, was not killed. He is very, very low HP. Another couple of attacks would have killed him. And here we go. These are the walls. These are the walls that Mike needs to keep his economy nice and safe. Unfortunately, it doesn't keep his economy as completely safe because Mooshoo can still get in round the back. But is he going to go? Is he going to go for it? Is he going to duck underneath the town centre to get the villager? Well, he definitely shouldn't. He's going to lose 2 militia. No, he's only going to lose 1. No, he's going to lose 2. No, he's only going to lose 1 militia. No, he's going to. Okay, he is going to lose 2 militia. Feudal age upgrade coming in for for Mooshoo now as well. And there we go. He's moved out onto stone. I think we all predicted this based on the fact that he's Korean, based on the fact he put his town centre on stone, and based on the fact that he went for a trush in the previous game. Mooshoo moving up with 4 villages now, and he's going to be going for that all typical, that all standard, that all powerful Korean trush, and he's even denied the palisade walls being completed for Mike here as well. And Mooshoo looking like he is in a fantastic position, putting down a first watchtower. Is our red player Mooshoo here? And he's going to be able to get a villager pick there too, I don't doubt. A couple of villagers falling idle for Mike. Mooshoo grabbing town watch, giving himself a little bit more line of sight on these towers. Maybe better able to see where he should be placing his next offensive or watchtower. But for the time being, the initial watchtower, the first placeholder watchtower, if you like, having been thrown down. And wow, that's a lot of deer being taken. Fair enough, he had a large deer patch. He may as well go ahead and use it. Mooshoo managing to pick off a villager there. A couple of militia coming out now for the Chinese player Mike. Garrisoning inside the tower is our Korean player Mooshoo. Now Mooshoo needs to be able to throw up another watchtower to be able to start taking down these pesky units at the base of his initial watchtower. But at the same time, why not bring your villagers out to fight? Militia and villagers don't really do too much damage against each other, although nice downhill hits here coming in from our Korean player Mike, and he's going to lose this militia, but he did manage to get a villager pick of his own. 26 villagers to 21 is the villager count for the time being, and the second watchtower now coming up for Mooshoo as well. Mike recognizing the situation, thinking, oh crap, not again. So he's going to go ahead and throw down a defensive watchtower on one of his wood lines. Of course, it's not the safest, it's not the most substantial wood line that he should be placing the watchtower down on. And of course, maybe he thinks, hey, I've got my town center over here, it should be nice and safe. Well, that could be true, but once these towers get upgraded to guard tower and keep with fletching bodkin arrow and all those good, all important tower upgrades, Mooshoo is going to be able to hit these villages very, very easily. Mike's response now throwing up a stable. In Chinese, they do get fully upgraded scouts in the feudal age with the bloodlines and +1 armor as well as +1 attack being able to be researched for them. Mike going ahead and showing why he's chosen the Chinese civilization here. He's going ahead and throwing down a lot of walls. A lot of walls. In an effort to keep some portion, some area of his economy safe. But the only thing is, he's walled himself out more or less from taking any gold for the time being. And this is the bad thing about walling, or one of the bad things about walling, is it does sort of, give your opponent map control, and it allows your opponent to go ahead and start taking those extra resources. Mike only just now finding his 2-boar, and this is really professional. A double boar lure, although I feel like this boar should be running back. I don't know why he didn't lose his aggro, but a double boar lure coming in for Mike as the villagers from Mooshoo start walking around. Like I said, these walls, they're nice and pretty and all that sort of stuff, but they're not going to stop these villagers here from Mooshoo getting in. But there's a scout cavalry there. There's one unupgraded scout cavalry in there to try and pick off the villagers for Mooshoo, but he hasn't got one villager. Mike has actually lost a villager to the boar lure, and now the quick walls coming in for Mooshoo. This watchtower is going to go up uncontested. Unfortunately, Mooshoo leaving 2 of his other villagers a little bit idle there, and they more or less or eventually get picked off by the 2 scout cavalry as well as the extra villagers that Mike can bring into this fight. Now Mooshoo's watchtower rush, his trush, has more or less been stopped in its tracks for the time being, as he leaves this villager here idle, not actually building that watchtower at all. Mike starting to complete his wall offs as well, keeping himself nice and safe. He needs to plug this hole here, or he needs to plug this hole here if he really wants to keep himself completely safe. But the scouts now going to move out for Mike, and this is a really, really interesting attack move for him. A market being thrown up back at home for Mooshoo. Is he nearly up to the castle age? Well, no, he's got a crap ton of food. I don't know where the hell all that food has come from. He does have a lot of food. Obviously, he's got more villagers than his opponent here. He's going to be able to sell his food, and he's going to be able to get up to the castle age in absolutely no time at all. And with that frame of mind having been said, I think that the stable here is a really a mistake on Mike's part. We saw in the previous game that the only way that he could really... he had all this deer. That's where all his foods come from, of course. So we saw in the previous game where the trush came in, Mike managed to defend really, really effectively and well, because he managed to get himself up to the next age a lot sooner than his opponent. Now, making these scouts, it's 240 food, rather, that he has just sunk into making scouts, which are going to be so easily countered by one spearman that we can see having been popped out and created from the Korean player. And this is only going to set the castle age time back for Mike by a long way. So in that with that frame of mind having been said, I feel like the scouts were a really, really silly option, or not the best option for Mike for this in this case. I can see where he's coming from. He wants to be able to get some sort of military production going so that he can stop the stop the watchtowering building villages, the trushing villages, and maybe this gives us a bit of a nod of the head, or a bit of a hint that he wants to be going down the night route once he gets into the castle age as well. But the fact remains, ladies and gentlemen, the fact remains that he's not going to be able to get to the castle age anytime soon. Although in saying that, he does actually have quite a decent amount of resources. He's just lacking a little bit of gold, and that's because he isn't actually mining gold from anywhere. Again, these walls zoning him out of those all-important resources, and he's losing his scouts inside the economy of Mooshoo now, as Mooshoo has actually clicked up to the castle age and has now fallen. That said 31 villages just before. I don't know why it says 35 now, because I'm looking at the wrong person. That's that's why 30 villages for Mike, 30 villages for Mooshoo, 35 villages for Mike. A decent amount of fishing ships out for our blue player, and not so many out for the for the Korean player here. But what are we going to see once the Castle Age upgrade comes in for Mooshoo? Well, I hope that we're going to see some forward siege, but maybe not. Maybe we're just going to continue to see more and more towers. Obviously, these watchtowers here get upgraded to guard towers for free, being the Koreans. But we haven't really seen too much indication as to what Mooshoo is going to be going for. Maybe he's going to have enough stone for a castle and an offensive castle drop right into the heart of the economy here of Mike could be super strong. Putting a castle on this hill would be a very, very good, a very devastating move, in my opinion, since it would definitively zone off this gold here and the stone here being able to be taken from Mike. As Mike, we can see, is now going to double palisade pretty much all of his base in an effort to keep himself safe. Maybe he recognizes that his opponent is up. He's throwing up a market. He wants to do a bit of market magic and buy himself up to the castle age, but we have 100 stone left for the before the castle was going to be able to be dropped for the... Oh my goodness gracious me, this is definitely a castle drop. If this is not a castle drop, it's like a Spanish supremacyville rush. But this is absolutely a castle drop. 716 stone does have Mooshoo as he buys a little bit more. And Mike now clicked up to the castle age, but it could be a little bit too late. We can see the castle drop coming up right outside this wood, cutting operation here from Mike. Mike recognizing awfully quickly, to his credit, and he's going to have to relocate and evacuate those villages out of there. Stonewalling in behind, but we've seen on arena games, we've seen that a castle, especially a castle on a hill, can take down stone walls in a matter of moments. And I lied. Mike does actually have access to some gold here, and he's going to start long distance mining it because he thinks, hey, these villages are going to be under fire from some arrows soon. We may as well get them nice and active and get them nice and fit so they can run away from the arrows just that little bit quicker. But the castle is up now. The castle is up for our Korean player Mooshoo. And now is he going to start taking some gold here? Is he going to go back home and start taking more stone to continue his crush build? I'm not really sure, but it looks like he's sending his villagers home. Not really sure to do what though. Bodkin error coming in for Mooshoo now as well. And we have to remember that Mike is up to the castle age, sure, but what can he actually do? Well, this castle, while it does give Mooshoo a little bit of map control and a really, really nice position in terms of the hill, it doesn't actually zone Mike off any resources that he can't take from elsewhere. We've already established that he can take this gold out here to the eastern flank of his map. He can still take wood relatively safely in this portion, in this region of his base here. But the elite, oh not elite, I wish, but the war wagon's now coming out, or at least one war wagon coming out for Mooshoo, and he would be better placed to send this war wagon into the economy of his opponent and not sit it underneath the fire of a town centre. And it looks like he's doing just that. Bodkin error again having been researched, I reiterate, on these war wagons, taking a lot of unnecessary damage as it sat underneath the town centre. And now Mike even bringing in some villagers to join the fray. This war wagon rather, not going to be able to do too much funky business inside Mike's economy at all. What else is going on? Well, we can see an extra town centre having been thrown up for Mooshoo out here towards the right hand side of his base, which means a villager lead that he now has back after Mike having lost a couple of villagers in this forward castle aggression. Means that he's going to be able to pull ahead even further in his economical advantage, as Mike, having just reached the castle age now, does not actually have an extra town centre coming up anywhere that I can see. Although in saying that, no, those are gold mining villages. Switch over to Mike's point of view and we can see why he doesn't have any town centres coming up. It's because he doesn't have any resources for it. And like we said, like we thought, maybe the stable had come up in the feudal age from Mike, gave us a bit of a hint, gave us a bit of a nod of the head into what army composition he wanted to go down. And of course, knights again getting Chinese getting fully upgraded knights in the castle age means that they are going to be in an okay spot. The knights are a very viable option in my opinion. Unfortunately, knights with absolutely no upgrades sitting underneath the fire of two guard towers, a castle and a couple of war wagons are not a viable option at all. And Mooshoo, very, very demanding position here. He has complete and utter map control at least. Well, I suppose it's not too bad. Mike still does have map control, at least in the back part of his base, but he does have quite a bit of harassment and quite a bit of pressure to contend with out the front of his base. Of course, owing to the fact that there is a castle, a couple of towers, and a war wagon there. And this, oh my god, this guard tower over here is still up. This is fantastic play from Mooshoo. As he's managing to keep two villages of Mike idle, just trying to batter down this watchtower, as opposed to the only one villager that is more or less idle from the from Mooshoo. Now these war wagons could actually put an end to these villagers' lives, but it looks like they're going to be merciful. They're going to be merciful war wagons, and they're just going to still trot into the economy here of Mike. Now unfortunately, Mike still has no upgrades on these knights. So they're going to go down awfully quickly to the fire of the war wagons. War wagons are a very costly venture, very expensive unit, but very, very strong at the same time. Now, what else can we see coming up? Well, we can see a forward siege workshop coming in from Mooshoo, and Mooshoo with a mangonel potentially sitting on this hill, or even just below it. A couple of mangonels firing upon this town centre. Going to be super, super strong, especially since any villagers that come out to batter them down are going to be under fire of two towers, or the two towers and a castle on a hill as well from Mooshoo. So he's going to be in a fine position to pick off some villagers there and further solidify the 7-villager lead that he currently holds over his opponent. Of course, Mike does still have quite a lot of fishing. Unfortunately, the fishing ships are all idle, so I shouldn't really be talking too heavily about that. Double Bidex only just coming in now for both of these players, and there's the mangonel. I'm not quite sure if it is on a hill. It looks like it could potentially be sitting just on the lip of this hill, but either way, it doesn't matter. This town centre is going to go down. I don't think there's any way that Mike is going to be able to stop that. He doesn't have a siege workshop up anywhere. Although, to be fair, he can send out his knights to go out there and grab that mangonel. These knights are going to be able to withstand enough arrow fire from these piers, from the towers in the castle, to be able to pick off the mangonel. But of course, Mooshoo can continue to bring forward his mangonels to be able to put himself in a really nice position to take that TC down. And Mike looks like he has the same idea as I do. He's going to send these knights forward. He's going to try and take down these mangonels of his own, but take down these mangonels with the knights, and let's see how well these knights do actually fare underneath the castles. They now have +1 defense, having been researched on them, and Mike thinking, no, I can't take that. This TC is a complete and utter goner. Is Mike taking stone anywhere? No, it doesn't matter, actually, because Mike is calling GG, and his yeah, it seems like he wasn't too happy of the Nomad pick. Unfortunately, it was his opponent's home map, so he didn't really have too much of a say in the matter. So there wasn't really not too much to comment on in that game. We more or less saw the strategy choice from our red Korean player here, Mooshoo, as soon as we saw that he was Koreans and taking stone, and from there it was always going to be really difficult for Mike. Once the castles and the towers have been placed on this hill, it was going to be very difficult for Mike to push out and be able to take the game back. So well played from Mooshoo. Let's change the scores to reflect the fact that it is now 1-1 in this best-of-5 series, or this best-of-5 set between Mike and Mooshoo. We'll come out of the game room now, switch the scene back over, and I'll see you guys very, very soon for game number 3.